We're going to do a little thing first. I was talking to you a little bit earlier about the toys that they released, and obviously you knew about it before I even mentioned it because you said you ordered them. One of the ones that just came out for the May the 4th is the Cantina Adventure set. You said you ordered that?
That one I ordered, and at first, I wasn't interested in getting much of anything that they had advertised. But after, as I thought about it, I said, "What the heck? It's a nod to the old stuff." And then at the same time, there's a little bit of variation in the appearance, but I didn't
Yeah,
pick
that's
up.
the original mistake version of some of the characters right there in the blue.
Just the one. That's right.
Yeah.
Just the one. And yeah, you're right. And I didn't pick up the other pack, but now I'm kind of wondering if I should have got it. I guess they made an announcement yesterday after all the stuff went up that come Friday that they were going to lock in prices, based on tariff assumptions with increases and everything. So basically, if you don't get your orders in on any of the product, I guess by Friday, then anything that's considered a pre-order after that date will likely go up in price.
The packaging that it's coming in, and it's got the original Kenner. It's going to come in the original Kenner packaging with the Star Wars and all that, just like it used to back in the old days. Another one that came out was the special, which I was looking at, Stormtroopers of the Empire, going from they got the I don't know if you've seen that. It's a 3-pack
Oh yeah.
with the
Yeah.
Snow Trooper, Sand Trooper, and then a Bike Trooper. I thought that one looked pretty neat too.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I wanted to bring up the figures is because limited edition sets, pre-orders, and toys that you see that are really selling that sell out because that Cantina set sold out already. They're all either original trilogy or prequel trilogy. You do not see a lot of toys or new sets or anything. Even the Lego sets. I subscribe to the Lego because I pick up every now and then I'll pick up a set,
Hmm.
but that's all. None of that is sequel trilogy. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, obviously you could just say, "Hey, the sequels suck," and nobody buys that
Well,
crap. But that's
well,
that's
you know
that's an
what?
important
Let's.
thing that
I mean,
nobody's buying that.
you can make that argument, but I also think that there's two things going on there. I think is one. There's always going to be sort of, at least with probably a lot of people over the age of 40, they have a fondness for certainly the original trilogy and probably um, prequel trilogy to some extent. The younger you go, you're going to pick up more of that audience. But a lot of the folks that are being introduced to Star Wars that are in maybe their children or their teens and they go to the Disneyland or Disney World exhibits with the whole Star Wars galaxy experience and all that. If they were kids in the last 5 to 10 years, that's really potentially their first exposure, unless their parents or someone introduced them to it. My point is, some of the people like me, people that are a little bit older, are going to have a little more disposable income, and they also have fonder memories of probably that particular part of the franchise. So, in other words, if you grew up in the last 10 years, you're probably not going to have a lot of disposable cash, and
Well,
more.
that's true, but I know where you're going with that. Because I thought that too. But here's the thing: if the sequels had, I mean, the sequels had been pretty cool, I'd be buying that stuff too. Because I'm a Star Wars fan. If it would have been good, I would have put it just on the same level as the other ones. But
Well, to
I'll
your
I'll tell you this: I bought one sequel. And that was Luke Skywalker. I don't have
yeah.
any sequel stuff.
Well, to your point, though, it's pretty clear that after the movie merchandise was released, and this has been a few years since the last one. When was the last one released? 2018 or something like that. That's it. They really haven't released any additional sequel products. So that tells me that either they felt there just wasn't enough interest in investing in doing more of that. Those toys just didn't sell, and so it was pretty clear that they weren't going to really make their money back, right? Or a combination of things. But yeah, I mean, because since then we haven't really seen much of anything, and it's been a few years, even before COVID, probably since the last sequel toy came out. So right now we're just pretty much the always the original trilogy stuff seems to do pretty well. Prequel trilogy to a lesser extent, but again, some of those people are aging into where they have a little more disposable income, and you see that. I see a lot of requests. If you go to different groups online and stuff, people say, "Oh, release this version of Anakin or this version of." It's because that's kind of a fond time period for them. But the original trilogy has always been traditionally a pretty big hit, and on top of that. There's also the bigger debate between Black Series and vintage, right? In other words, do you prefer the old scale, which is the 3 3/4, or do you like the 6 inch scale?
I think they both do good because I get, I like the original size myself, but I picked up the Black Series for the Empire Strikes Back anniversary set, and when they put out the, I don't know if you know this, but they put out a, it was like a box for the original box that they had put out originally before they had, I don't know if you remember, they came out with figures before they had figures, and they were selling them in a box with,
Yes,
and they redid that for the anniversary of Star Wars,
for
and
the
I
six
picked,
inch.
yeah, with the big the Dark Series, I picked that up, and then when they came out with the Empire Strikes Back vintage series or whatever, I picked those up. So I think I think they both sell well, and it's original trilogy. But a question I have for you: doesn't it seem like, because I talked to Larry about this one time, I believe, and I have not been to Disneyland Star Wars stuff, but supposedly most of it, if not all of it, was all sequel trilogy based, and it's
Right.
only recently I've heard that they're bringing in some of the older stuff. Why does it seem? Do you believe the rumor that Lucas still gets a cut of that because he, somehow, even though he sold
No,
it, or why
no,
does it seem like they? Why does it seem like they Disney almost doesn't like the original trilogy in
well,
a
it's
sense?
it's not so much they don't like it. I think from a business perspective. Now, granted, I'm of the mindset they should have probably done it in the original trilogy and just added elements of maybe the sequel trilogy, but they decided to do it the other way around. So I think in Disney's mind, rather than go and use all those characters, we already kind of know how those stories end. So I think they wanted to start something fresh. That's part of the reason why they decided to go into the future. In other words, with the sequel trilogy, they went, what, 20 years beyond Jedi or whatever that was. And I think for them, it was a fresh start to basically reintroduce Star Wars, but also introduce new concepts, new characters, new ideas, which basically means cash, right? In their mind, which is if we can cash in on that. Unfortunately for them, it doesn't look like that was the best business decision. I think the Galaxy's Edge is well visited. I mean, there's a lot of people going. You
Have
mentioned
you
our
have you
buddy.
gone?
Never have.
Okay,
I did
we
go.
gotta go, bro.
Good for them that they decided to move forward with basically a Star Wars land, basically. And but I think it was a big miss that they decided to put all those characters in rather than, more traditional characters. Honestly, I think that would have been more popular for more people.
Yeah, I just really feel it's a miss. I'm like, even I hate to just continue to beat the dead horse about the sequel trilogy, but they really should have had. I mean, I think his name's Chris Gore. He's from Film Threat, and he was doing an interview one time, and maybe this is just hyperbole and first world problems, but he said it's almost cinematically criminal that we never got Han, Luke, and Leia all together on in one scene in the sequel trilogy. And I have to agree, it's like that's what, even Larry, when he was talking about he didn't like the prequels as much, he was waiting for the sequels. That's what he wanted to see, and that's what everybody, they had a chance to like make it all about them, introduce the new characters in the first movie, and then okay, take the second and third and go on with the new characters. It just, again, it just seems like a miss, and I was like, I don't know, I it seems so weird that Disney would just not focus so much on the old guys, that that's why I that's why I believe some of them conspiracy theories about why they don't.
Yeah,
But
no, I just think obviously someone was in a position to make a decision, and I don't think that was the best decision that they made. And it's pretty clear, we know for a fact now that they didn't have a plan. And when they were doing the sequel trilogy, and it was they kind of left it up to each director to do their own thing. And granted, there was supposed to be a different director for the third one, and yet they pulled back after the second one and realized there was so much backlash from a lot of the fans that they said, "Oh, this is not going to work, so we're going to have to change things up." But all that could have easily been avoided if they would have had a showrunner or someone in charge like Kevin Feige and Marvel, who basically would have steered the ship, right? And unfortunately, you had three different captains potentially, and or more, and it wasn't sort of one cohesive direction. So as a result, the whole property suffered for it, in my opinion.